The Life of Jonathan Joestar, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Jonathan Joestar is the protagonist of Part 1 and the first JoJo of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series. The son of George Joestar I, Jonathan is an honest, kind, and positive man whose life is fraught with tragedy after meeting his adoptive older brother, Dio Brando. In his battle against Dio, Jonathan becomes a Ripple user under the tutelage of the master Will Anthonio Zeppeli. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Jonathan Joestar. Before we begin, we publish a new video at least once a week, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media accounts. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Early life. As an infant, Jonathan was involved in a carriage accident, resulting in the death of his mother, Mary Joestar. The same accident indirectly brought Dio Brando into his life because his father, George Joestar I, assumed Dio's thieving father saved his life and vowed to repay that debt. 12 years later, Jonathan comes to the aid of a young girl named Erina Pendleton being bullied by two brats, despite lacking the strength to defend her honor properly. He reveals his intentions of becoming a bona fide gentleman, having opted to help her only to pursue that goal. After meeting Dio, Jonathan's life spirals into hell as Dio attempts to break Jonathan's spirit through dominance and isolation. At that time, Jonathan crosses paths with Erina. The two become close and eventually fall in love. Dio learns of this and decides to deny Jonathan any chance of romance by forcibly taking Erina's first kiss, instilling deep shame in the girl. After learning of Dio's deed, Jonathan confronts him at the Joestar mansion where his resolve for Erina's honor and his dignity gives him the strength to overpower Dio. Jonathan briefly notices a stone mask on their wall reacting to Dio's blood, but is distracted by his father who attempts to stop the fight before it escalated any further. Despite standing up to Dio, Jonathan was unable to find Erina afterwards. While learning that his beloved dog Danny had died after being accidentally placed in the incinerator, Jonathan suspected Danny's death to be Dio's doing. But Dio had noted the kind of person Jonathan was and decided to feign peace between them for the time being. Phantom Blood. 7 years later, Jonathan attends Hugh Hudson Academy where he intends to graduate as an archaeologist. During that 7-year span, Jonathan was still wary towards Dio despite his facade. When George fell ill, Jonathan found a letter from Dio's father, Dario, and realized that Dio was poisoning his father to steal the Joestar family fortune. Though he had no physical proof other than Dio's clear animosity towards his biological father, Jonathan left his own father in the care of physicians while attempting to find an antidote. Jonathan's search takes him to Ogre Street, where he manages to win over the friendship of a local thug named Robert E.O. Speedwagon, who had attempted to mug him before realizing the kind of person he was. With Speedwagon's help, Jonathan finds Dio's poison supplier, Wang Chan, and obtains the antidote for his father. Birth of a Vampire. Dio arrives at the estate and sees Jonathan, Speedwagon, and George waiting for him alongside the constables to take him away for attempted murder. Dio, having learned the power of the stone mask, attempts to kill Jonathan and use his blood to transcend humanity and become an immortal vampire. George takes a stab wound meant for Jonathan, prompting the constables to open fire on Dio, supposedly killing him. As Jonathan laments, Dio is revealed to be alive and uses his new vampiric state to incapacitate Speedwagon and slaughter the constables. Noting Dio's newly gained regeneration, Jonathan is forced to set fire to his home in hopes that the amassed heat would kill him. After a long struggle, Jonathan plummets Dio into the inferno and impales him on a statue of the goddess Venus, effectively trapping him in the flaming building. As Dio curses him, Jonathan is blasted outside the manor by an explosion and remains alive despite many burns and injuries. Speedwagon manages to take Jonathan to the hospital, where the protagonist ends up seeing Erina for the first time in 7 years. Despite Dio's actions in the past, it didn't change Erina's feelings for Jonathan as she nursed him back to health. Ripple training. After being discharged from the hospital a few days later, Jonathan meets Will Anthonio Zeppeli, an Italian martial artist trained in the art of Sendo. After completely healing Jonathan's body, Zeppeli reveals that Dio survived the estate burning and offers to teach Jonathan to utilize a respiratory-based solar energy called Ripple, or Hamon, in order to defeat Dio and destroy the stone mask. During this time of training, Jonathan defeats a zombified Wang Chan with his new Zoom Punch technique. Jonathan later learns from Speedwagon that Dio had apparently set up base in Wood Knight's lot, resulting in the disappearance of several of its citizens. Drawing near to the village, the group is attacked by a newly zombified Jack the Ripper sent by Dio. Zeppeli offers the zombies defeat as a final test for Jonathan, giving him a glass of wine and ordering him to defeat Jack without spilling a drop. Jonathan eventually realizes he can use the glass to detect Jack before defeating him by transmitting Ripple through the wall. Once at Wood Knight's lot, Jonathan and his group are unknowingly led by a hypnotized boy named Poco to a graveyard where Dio's large number of minions ambush them the moment night falls. Luck and Pluck. Dio reveals himself at that time, having learned of the Ripple fighting style, and uses his Flash Freeze ability to render barehanded attacks with Ripple useless. Dio then reveals his strongest zombie warriors, the knights Bruford and Tarkus. Bruford senses Jonathan's fighting nobility, requesting Dio to let him fight the human in a duel. Taking their battle underwater, Jonathan is at a disadvantage as he's unable to maintain proper breathing and thus is unable to use Ripple. Recalling a lesson from his late father, Jonathan dives deeper into the water where he finds air bubbles trapped underneath rocks. Using those to breathe, Jonathan is able to generate enough Ripple to force Bruford out of the water. Bruford tries to finish off Jonathan, but Jonathan channels Ripple through the zombie's sword to literally disarm him before unleashing a flurry of sunlight yellow overdrive punches. As Bruford breaks down, he regains his human soul and in respect for Jonathan, leaves him his sword, succeeding his master. After experiencing Tarkus' power, Jonathan and company decide to retreat into a canyon on a leaf-based hang glider that Jonathan and Zeppeli magnetize with Ripple. Landing within an ancient knight's battleground, Tarkus ambushes the group and manages to trap Jonathan in the lair of the two-headed dragon, forcing him into a chain neck deathmatch. Jonathan is nearly killed by the more experienced combatant, but is briefly saved by Zeppeli, who ends up sacrificing himself. It's only after the dying Zeppeli infuses Jonathan with his remaining Ripple that the youth revives with the strength necessary to defeat Tarkus. Afterwards, Jonathan cremated Zeppeli's body before resuming the search for Dio. The final battle. Soon after meeting the Ripple Masters Tonpetty, Strizo, and Dyer, Jonathan saves Poco's sister from Doobie before confronting Dio. After Dyer's killed by Dio's freezing powers, Jonathan gets the idea to counter Dio's freezing by channeling his Ripple through Bruford's sword. Dio, livid over Dyer's last attack, summons his zombies to take care of the others while he deals with Jonathan one-on-one. Jonathan lands a couple of sword attacks on Dio, but he survives them with his inhuman powers. Jonathan's able to land a sunlight yellow overdrive on Dio, but he quickly puts himself together. Dio grabs hold of Jonathan's carotid artery, but Jonathan is able to escape and the two clash one last time. Jonathan set his fists on fire to remove Dio's advantage and lands a Ripple-infused punch into Dio's stomach while sending him plummeting off the edge of the balcony. Believing Dio dead along with most of his minions, Jonathan's group destroys the sewn mask. Marriage and conclusion. 2 weeks after the Wind Knight's Lot incident, Jonathan marries Erina and the two board a ship heading to America for a honeymoon. During the trip, Jonathan is led to the ship's hull by Wang Chan, where he encounters a bodiless Dio. Dio reached an epiphany that their fates were deeply woven together, motivating him to take the Joestar's body as his own. Dio then shoots beams of pressurized eye fluid at Jonathan's throat in an attempt to instantly kill him, but the attack only fatally wounds Jonathan, with his stopped breathing preventing him from using his Ripple. Regardless, Dio orders Wang Chan to rip off Jonathan's head while warning him to be both respectful and wary of his new body. Using the last of his Ripple, Jonathan destroys Wang Chan's head and manipulates his body to obstruct a piece of the cruise ship's mechanism. Jonathan intended this to cause an explosion that would sink the ship and hopefully put an end to Dio for good. While Erina was content to die with him in his final moments, Jonathan besieges her to escape with an infant whose mother died protecting her from the zombies that Wang Chan had sired. Dio makes a last-ditch attempt to take Jonathan's body at that time, only to be stabbed and restrained by Jonathan, who felt at peace in his final moments. Dio attempts to convince Jonathan to let him go with the promises of immortality, only to learn that he had already died before the two were consumed in an inferno caused by the ship's explosion. With his death, the Joestar family is survived through Erina and their unborn son. Legacy. Jonathan's story was known only to a few, namely his son George Joestar II, and later his grandson Joseph Joestar and his descendants. Despite Jonathan's last act, Dio manages to take the headless body of his rival for his own and resurfaces from the ocean depths a century later. Once freed, the renamed Dio, with a capital D-I-O, uses Jonathan's body to impregnate a few women, resulting in the births of Giorgio Giovanna, Donatello Verstis, Ungalo, and Richiel. Dio then pierces his new body with the bow and arrow, awakening the ability to use a stand. Dio also gives Enrico Pucci one of Jonathan's bones to enact his dream of ascending to heaven. During the events of Stardust Crusaders, Dio decides to completely integrate Jonathan's body to perfect his stand by using Joseph's blood as a catalyst, but ends up being utterly defeated by Jonathan's great-great-grandson, Jotaro Kujo. After Dio's death by Jotaro's hands, he and Joseph expose what remained of Jonathan's body to the sun as an apparent end to their feud with Dio, allowing Jonathan to rest in peace. Steel Ball Run. Jonathan's counterpart in Steel Ball Run is Johnny Joestar, formerly named Jonathan. Johnny's family also bears noble lineage, but makes its residence in America instead. However, Johnny's appearance and personality are very different from Jonathan's. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. I'm Adrian, thanks for watching, I'm out.